So here's the New York Times article.
It's America, an advocacy group. If you can't pay your rent, or you have to work 3 jobs and take 3 buses, and you don't have childcare, she said, all of these things may put you on edge and maybe make you not be able to bring your best parenting self to the job of parenting.
Yeah, that's likely.
Dr. Merrick said that conditions including racial bias, disinvestment in communities of color, and lack of access to support systems all drive disparities in
Yeah, that must be the reason why there are these racial disparities in child killing and child abuse in New York cities. It's that lack of investment in communities of color. Sure, that's it.
abuse. But black families in New York City are also more likely than Hispanic and Asian families to be accused of neglect or abuse or to have their children removed, even though Hispanic and Asian families have higher poverty rates. A New York Times analysis of 83 child homicides from 2016 to 2022 found that black children in the city were killed in cases where family members were charged at about 7 times the rate for white and Asian children and 3 times the rate for Hispanic children. Several black parents with recent A.C.S. cases said in interviews that they felt they would have been treated differently if they were white. I think A.C.S.'s goal was to prove abuse, said Mylana Gerard, 25, who lost the right to be alone with her infant son for nearly a year after he was found to have 16 fractured ribs. Even after she gave A.C.S. records from a special...
Yeah, the kid had 16 fractured ribs for completely ordinary reasons. It wasn't that she was a neglectful mother. Man, just imagine she was blocked from seeing her kid for a year just because her kid was found to have 16 fractured ribs.
Stating that the fractures were probably caused by a genetic variant, the agency waited 5 months before clearing her. Ms. Gerard, who works for a nonprofit and lives in the South Bronx, said she believed that if she were white and richer, A.C.S. would have tried harder to find out what was going on with my son. Disparities in the child welfare system persist in New York City, even as the overall number of children removed and placed in foster care continues to fall, from 40,000 in the late 90s to 14,000 a decade ago to under 7,000.
Yeah, so it used to be that you took kids away from abusive situations, just like you put crazy, ranting homeless people in insane asylums. Now we've emptied out the insane asylums. We're leaving kids in abusive homes, and are we really better off? I mean, was the stolen generation really worse off for being removed from frequently abusive situations and given an education and the ability to build an honorable life? Maybe the rabbit-proof fence, name of a famous Australian movie about the stolen generation of half Aboriginal, half white kids who were taken from their frequently abusive Indigenous families and raised as good Australians, given the ability to read and write, given job skills, given discipline, right? Raise them in the environment much more suited for their thriving. Maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. That's what we're doing now. The more we're putting these kids in the hands of social workers and schools and feeding them at schools and having them spend as little time at home in the ghetto with their parents, right? That's essentially the same thing as what was castigated for in Rabbit Proof Fence and the Stolen Generation.